Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a book that doesn't just want to tweak our understanding of physics. Nope, it suggests we should probably just tear the whole thing down and start over from scratch. It's a theory of reality that asks a very simple question. What is all this stuff, really?
So let's just jump right in. The author asks us to consider a really wild idea. What if the entire way we've been doing science for hundreds of years is based on a huge, fundamental mistake? I'm not talking about getting a specific theory wrong. I mean the whole approach, the very foundation of how we try to understand the universe.
Now, to even begin to understand why someone would propose something so radical, we have to look at this giant problem that's sitting right at the heart of modern physics. It's like this massive crack in the foundation of everything we think we know.
Okay, so on one side, you've got Einstein's general relativity. It's beautiful. It perfectly explains the big stuff: planets, galaxies, gravity. Then on the other side, you have quantum mechanics, which is our handbook for the incredibly weird world of the super small, atoms and particles. Now, here's the problem. Both of these theories are stunningly successful, but they are completely, fundamentally incompatible. They don't speak the same language at all.
The author argues this big crack exists because of the way we do science. I mean, think about it. To study anything, we have to separate it from everything else, right? We draw a little line. We say, this is the observer, and that is the thing being observed. This is my experiment, and that is the environment it's in.
And that leads to a profound question. We have to draw these lines to make sense of the world. But what if, at the most fundamental level, reality doesn't have any lines? What if it's all just one unbroken, continuous whole? And what if our very attempt to chop it up into pieces is what's causing all the confusion?
The book gives this a name. It calls it the human perspective. The idea is that our science isn't actually describing reality as it is, it's describing our relationship with reality. And in this view, all the quantum weirdness, particles being in two places at once, all that stuff, that's just nature's way of protesting when we try to force it into our neat, separate little boxes.
So, okay, if our entire perspective is the problem, what's the solution? Well, the author proposes we basically just hit a giant reset button. Let's build a new model of nature, but this time from a completely different starting point.
And the core idea is, well, it's incredibly ambitious. What if we could explain everything in the entire universe? You, me, every star, every atom, as just different forms of one single thing. No separate particles, no different forces, no empty space. Just one fundamental object. Now, to build this new model, we have to think a little differently. The author uses this word machinery. And by that, they don't mean the abstract laws of physics. They mean the actual stuff the universe is made of. And for this idea to work, that stuff has to be complete machinery, meaning it can change and evolve entirely on its own without anything acting on it from the outside.
So what is this fundamental stuff? The author gives it a name: C-space. The best way to picture it is like a vast, continuous, three-dimensional fabric, kind of like an elastic ocean that fills all of existence. And everything we see, everything we experience, is just a wave or a ripple or a current in this one ocean. This ocean is the universe.
Okay, so how can a single, continuous fabric possibly create all the amazing complexity that we see around us? How does that work?
Well, the first step is you have to completely get rid of the idea of particles being tiny, separate little things, like billiard balls bouncing around. In this model, those don't exist. Instead, particles, like the electrons that make up, well, you, they're not objects. They are more like stable whirlpools in this C-space fabric. They're these persistent, self-sustaining patterns of resonance that just give us the illusion that they're separate little things.
And that really gives us the big picture here. The universe isn't an empty void with a bunch of stuff in it. The universe is the stuff. Matter, energy, space itself, they're all just different shapes and deformations of this one single underlying medium called C-space.
So this idea, as you can imagine, completely rewrites the rules for how we think about science. It suggests this totally new two-layer way of looking at physics.
So the first layer, that's reality itself. That's the C-space fabric and how it behaves. The second layer is where all of our current physics lives: general relativity, quantum mechanics, all of it. But in this new view, our theories aren't describing reality directly. They're just our different interpretations of what's happening in that deeper first layer.
And here is the real kicker. The whole point is that in this model, the weirdness of quantum mechanics isn't actually a property of reality. It's a property of our limited human perspective. All of a sudden, quantum mechanics isn't this deep mystery that needs to be interpreted. It is the interpretation.
Now, if a theory like this were even partially correct, the implications would just be enormous. It would force us to rethink some of the most basic fundamental ideas we have about how the universe works.
For example, the fundamental forces of nature. They might just be an illusion, an effect caused by the bending of sea-space. Dark matter? We might not even need it. It could just be large-scale waves rippling through that fabric. Even the speed of light might not be a fundamental constant, which would mean our whole calculation for the age of the universe could be way off. But the author is very clear that this isn't presented as the final solved answer. The book ends with the motto of the Royal Society, nullius in verba. It's Latin, and it basically means take nobody's word for it. This isn't a declaration of truth, it's a challenge. It's a call for scientists to start exploring a completely new way of thinking.
And all of this leaves us with one final, massive question to think about. Is science describing reality as it truly is, or is it just describing our human relationship with reality? This book makes the bold claim that for centuries we've been mistaking the second one for the first. And if that's true, well, that's a radical idea that could change absolutely everything.